What is trafficking?
We need to take trafficking serious because it has become a lucrative industry for traffickers.
Eswatini is a transit country. By transit country, we mean people are using Eswatini to reach their destination.
One of these people may be a victim of human trafficking. One of these people may be suffering in silence, far from their home, from their culture, from their relatives. This person has an identity, has dreams and rights. The phenomenon is global and crosses the Swazi territory, the vulnerable borders of the Kingdom of Eswatini with South Africa and Mozambique have opened the way to human trafficking, adults and children, victims of sexual exploitation, of labor in the fields, trafficked inside and outside the country for domestic work, removed from their lives to serve the interests of trafficking networks.
If people were to report and if courts were to prosecute, we would see the real and true picture of trafficking persons in the country, as well as people smuggling.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, through the Office of the Prime Minister, in close collaboration with the International Organization for Migration, Public and Private Institution, has had a plan in action for 3 years. It is a project which reorganizes the whole system of prevention, support and defense of the victim.
We take that victim to an area where the victim gets that necessary protection, and then we just take care of that victim in terms of his or her stay in that place where he's kept, and then we arrange with the courts for the traffickers to face the law.
For many years we've been trying to achieve as an office, could not succeed, but this time around the collaboration resulted to government committing and identifying a facility which we have used, and IOM was able through foreign donor funding to do some refurbishment on the shelter. And this was also a wake-up call, maybe for lack of a better word, to sort of get government committing more in terms of paying more attention on what needs to be done to ensure that a facility is up and running to accommodate victims. Before, we used ad hoc structures, we used mostly NGO support, but this time around it is good to have it on record that we have a state shelter.
The trafficking persons theme focuses on prevention, on all the 3 Ps like we usually say, which is prevention, protection and prosecution.
It is a turnaround in the application of the law, in the way communities are sensitized in the enforcement of justice.
As a country, we have an action plan of how are we going to deal with such cases or such offenses, or how are we going to reach our objective of combating trafficking or smuggling of people.
We did a lot of trainings of the law enforcement, but we also did a lot of awareness raising activities that were mainly focused on building awareness among the communities to know exactly what trafficking in person is, and how to actually report those cases to the authorities.
We also had rural health motivators. They come through because they work with chiefdoms as well as Bukopo. Those are elected members of those communities. So they also came so that they would then go and disseminate the information back to the wider population in the areas. So that is how we had structured the sensitization campaign. Police were there, including community police, because we have community police in these areas everywhere.
Us as police, we bring the cases there, we analyze them, and we also bring statistics to say from the period of, say maybe beginning of the year up to the date when we are meeting, how many cases have we recorded, how many have we closed due to insufficient evidence, and many other issues that we may discuss pertaining to the cases. And also the court process is dealt with by the DPP's office, who is also there. And all that it is done to ensure that the rights of the victims are being catered for.
But it is not uncommon to also see children deprived of their rights, subjected to forced labor, far from the protection of their families.
Altogether now I think we've trained over 200 frontline responders. And we consider it as an achievement because we have brought to the attention of frontline responders the aspect of children who migrate, that children who are trafficked are children who are in migration. We have trained them. We've also achieved in the sense that those children that were outside of our borders who had left the country for a variety of reasons, we have been able, I think, to repatriate, to help the government repatriate maybe about 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Research carried out in recent years has also identified other vulnerable groups.
For the past 3 or so years, we've seen an increase in young girls being trafficked. We've seen 1 case or 2 happening through social media. We have seen an increase in our country of males coming in from foreign lands, where you find that they were promised job opportunities, and when they get here, it's not as promised.
The challenges at the level of financial resources, of implementing prevention, protection, and prosecution policies remain, but there is now a joint action prepared to respond to the trafficking of human beings in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
We are stronger together. If we work with IOM and we bring out, because we have that expertise on children, on children's rights and protection, child protection. So we contribute that aspect where we are strong, and they are general because they look at they're a migration organization. They focus on everyone. So I think we complement each other. We have a potential to perform and work better and aid the government in achieving their goals.
I'll give you an example. The National Referral Mechanism is a very important tool that helps different government stakeholders to identify, support, and refer victims of trafficking to the right services. So supporting the government to look at those tools and see whether they're still fit for purpose, that was a very important aspect, because today we know that the system to respond to trafficking in person is still effective, and we know that we can rely on these tools.
It's still a long way through. There are still a lot of players we'd like to bring on board and have commit. As you are talking of 3 years into the project now, today we have this dialogue where we are commemorating the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, and the theme is very interesting.
We now know about these cases, these issues, that they do happen. And more people now know about these cases, to say such is a human trafficking case. So we're better, and there's this ranking on human trafficking to say you are at what level. Of course, we've been moving up and down on these rankings, but you can see that something is being done. The fact that at some point we are being ranked higher, and it means that there is something that is being done, and we are trying to improve on a daily basis on how we deal with the issues of human trafficking.
Today, there is a shelter that welcomes the victims, a friendly voice that guides them. There is a barrier against violence.
Together, we can stop it. We can stop human trafficking.